Hey everybody, it's me, Rick Acosta, the Dodger Card Collector, coming to you with another video. Today is Friday, August 29th. Happy Labor Day weekend. I am off today from work, but that doesn't mean I'm not working because I unfortunately have a client that is working today. So I've had to step in and do a couple of things today, but enjoying the weekend so far. Yesterday was light at work. So I am in the middle of a spring cleaning at home, which is very important to me just because I like having a clean house and my mother's coming this weekend. So working on that. Uh, Decided to make a video just because I picked up some cards. I bought some cards right around the time of the Burbank show, a little before, that arrived in the past week. So I wanted to share those with you. This weekend will probably be very quiet card wise. I don't think that we have any shows this weekend here in LA. Next weekend's going to be big, and there's a side of me that kind of wishes I had had a YouTube channel. I think I've been on the air for YouTube around 2 years, and I kind of wish I'd had a YouTube channel 3 or 4 years ago, because 3 or 4 years ago we had literally no shows here. There's the typical, the whole Frankincense thing, which is really just it's really a toy or collectible type thing with some baseball cards thrown in there. So that was like our best show. That was every Saturday and Wednesday. But parking in that place is just such a pain in the butt. And I always remember when we came out of COVID, I kept saying, God, I wish we had some shows. And we started after COVID, some little shows, little regional shows, like in high school gymnasiums, started popping up in Orange County that were free. And while it was neat to go, I would last all of 15 minutes because there was a lot of modern stuff and a lot of basketball, a lot of football. But in the last couple of years, we've been lucky here in the LA area in that we've got the Burbank show. The Long Beach show started up again after the COVID, and now we have a Pasadena show. So this all culminates with this weekend or next weekend coming up, which is something I never thought I'd see. We are a week two. By the time these shows, by next week will be 2 weeks since the Burbank show ended, and this upcoming weekend we are going to have 3 shows on the same day. And no, I am not attending all 3. But what do we got? Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we have the Long Beach show, which I've spoken to you guys millions of times. It's a coin show, but in the back, there's a baseball card area with a lot of great vintage. And I go it's 3 times a year. I go every time. I like to see my friends. I like to look at cards. I usually come home with at least some commons. And it's just nice to hang out. It's close to home, so and I get in for free, so I go all the time. Uh, this weekend that same weekend then, so Saturday and Sunday, we are going to have what are those guys called? Like front row center. I call it the Pasadena Card Show. It'll be in Pasadena, California, Saturday the 7th and Sunday the 8th. They are moving into a bigger room in the Pasadena Civic Auditorium. So hopefully that means, I think there's more tables. Hopefully that means there's more vintage. Hopefully the lighting's better in this room than in the old room. But looking forward to that. I was given tickets from a couple of the guys over at the Burbank show. So I will be attending that probably Saturday afternoon because I told my buddy Eric I'd meet up with him. And then, believe it or not, that same day, Saturday, August 7th, we have the Long Beach show. We have the Pasadena show. There is a show in Burbank, California at the Burbank Marriott. It's not affiliated with the Burbank Card Store or having anything to do with the Burbank Card Show. I think it's the same guys that put on the shows out in Orange County, out in Brea. And I think they used to do shows in Yorba Linda and in Orange. They are having a show at the Burbank Marriott. From what I'm hearing, free parking, free admission, which probably means there'll be a lot of Pokemon and a lot of modern stuff going on. I don't know. But that's what's going on next weekend. We have 3, who would ever think in LA, we have 3 card shows on the exact same day, 2 weeks after the biggest card show of the year, the Burbank show, which I believe is now been rebranded and renamed the West Coast Show. powered by Burbank Sports Cards. So starting in 2026, we will see the Burbank or the West Coast Card Show. And these will be my last shows of the summer. I believe I have one more show in November. And then I'm done with shows for the year because luckily that's the holidays. Things don't start up till February. And I made it a mission in 2025 to attend as many local shows in all of Southern California. I'm even attended some shows up north. That was my mission for 2024. In 2025, it most likely will mean I'm only making appearances at the Burbank show and at the Long Beach show because those are fun. And card shows are fun, but they get tiring, and you could spend money really easily. Do I have any goals for these shows coming up? Actually, no. I will probably maybe be I'm looking for some 1969 Topps Commons cards, like some World Series cards of the 1968 World Series. And I am bringing along my 1957 Topps Sandy Koufax in hopes of potentially trading it for a 68 Topps Nolan Ryan. I am in no hurry, though. I am going to take my time. And I'm just going to see what happens. So still working on 68. So still working on the 68 Topps set. Still working on 50 Bowman. I don't see much action, at least it shows with those coming up. Maybe on eBay. We'll see. So what do I got going today? Today, I am going to show you cards that I just picked up, as I already mentioned. One is my 1963, it's called the Dodger Pinup Set. And it's a set, 10-card set of the Dodgers, 1963, that was sold only at Dodger Stadium. And I have one or two pickups that I want to share with you just to catch up. And the thing is, once I get the reason sometimes I'll show you pickups is because once I show you pickups, it allows me to put the cards away. And one of these cards has been sitting out for a week, and I can't stand that. So anyways, let's turn the camera around and let's look at some baseball cards. All right, we're ready to roll. And let's see. I promised I was going to show you a set that I just picked up. Before I do that, I want to show you a pickup. And that is my 1960 Morel Meets cards. This is a Charlie Neal and a PSA 6. And this is when the Dodgers were still playing at the LA Memorial Coliseum. So you see the peristyle in there in the background that still exists to this day. That is considered a historical monument. They could tear down the Coliseum, but they have to leave that portion up. And it's not being torn down anytime soon. It was used in the 1932 Olympics, 1984 Olympics, and will be featured also in the 2028 Summer Olympics. So this Morel Meets card, there's 30 cards over 3 years, 59, 60, and 61. I have 4 of these graded, 3 of them ungraded. Someday maybe I'll be able to get all 30. I'm not sure. These cards are not easy to find. I did not see any at the Burbank show. I never see them at smaller shows. I see them at a couple of card stores sometimes. And even the video that you guys all take, like at the National and shows out east, I don't see videos of them, but that also could be the case that someone isn't going to film random regional cards from Los Angeles at a show in Ohio or Illinois or New York. So, but here is Charlie Neal from 1960 Morel Meets. Okay, so the next set of cards are all from 1963. These cards were available at the concession stand of Dodger Stadium in 1963. I don't know how long these sets lasted. I don't know if they reproduced them, if they sold out. But I know, like in regards to the 1964 Topps Giants cards, which were also sold at Dodger Stadium, I bought a pack of those 10 years later in 1974. And from what I've heard from others and from just readings, you can still buy 1964 Topps Giants cards at Dodger Stadium as late as the early 80s, like 1983-ish. So I do know these cards were available in 1963. And the first one is Tommy Davis. Tommy Davis. These cards look awfully familiar. They kind of look like the 1938 Gowdy cards, of which in 1938 there were plain cards made like these cards, but then they also had some with cartoon writing all over the place. In this case, for this set for 1963, the Dodgers just have these playing cards. But here's two-time batting champion Tommy Davis. Next up, this is not his brother, but his fellow outfielder Willie Davis, longtime Dodger outfielder for a good 13 years or so. And just so you know, there are 10 cards in this set. And it wasn't easy to find, but I eventually decided to pluck some money down to get these. And I'll explain to you that in a moment as we look at Big D, Don Drysdale. I like what it says on all these cards. Push out character carefully, take scissors, and trim white around player's head. Just moving these cards from the envelope they came in into top loaders, these perforations, they come out pretty quick. Luckily, I was able to get these cards in without doing any damage to them because I really wanted to keep them in these top loaders. If I didn't mention, these cards are 7x9 as we look at Ron Fairly. I put them in an 8x10 top loader, and this is how I just plan on keeping them. And I don't think I'll ever send these graded. As we said, longtime Dodger Ron Fairly, spent some time with the Expos, later went on, I believe, to be an announcer for the Angels and maybe even the Seattle Mariners. There's Ron Fairly. Next guy, Hondo, Frank Howard. This guy I kind of wish I had seen him stick around, but with the Dodgers. But in the mid-60s, he was already contemplating retirement. He just didn't seem happy as a ball player. The Dodgers have always been kind of famous for not having hitters. They're more of a pitching team. So they saw an opportunity to get another top-line starter in Claude Osteen, traded Frank Howard away. Osteen stuck around 8 years, won 20 games twice, was a solid player. Frank Howard went on to the Senators and became like home run, he seemed to win home run titles every year in the late 60s and even into the 70s. But here's Frank Howard. Next up, Sandy Koufax. And this is the one card I've seen that is expensive if you buy it graded. Anything that Koufax says just seems to cost a lot of money. But here's Sandy Koufax. This is just an interesting set. Like I said, it's only 10 cards. Here's Joe Moeller. Joe Moeller's an interesting guy. Dodgers signed him as a bonus baby. I think they gave him roughly $75,000. A lot of the older players were resentful of him, especially Duke Snider. Duke Snider just did not like this guy because Joe Moeller was making more money than Duke Snider ever made. And he let him know about it in person. And he really rode the kid hard. When it came time to divvy up 1962 playoff shares or World Series shares, which ironically the Dodgers did not get in because the Giants beat them out on the last day of the season, Snider convinced his teammates to only vote Joe Moeller half a share, which would have been the same share that the Bat Boy would have received. In later years, Snider apologized for his actions, and Joe Moeller, I believe, was a very Christian-oriented man, and they became friends, and he forgave him. But this guy had a tough career. As a bonus baby, the Dodgers held on to him for 7-8 years, and to be honest with you, he just didn't do much. I have plenty of baseball cards of his, though, which is funny. I think he has a card every year from 64 to 71, maybe even 63. But here's Joe Moeller. Next up, my favorite relief pitcher, Ron Perranoski. If Koufax couldn't finish a game, if Drysdale couldn't finish a game, then Perranoski would come in, which means he didn't come in too much. Probably when Johnny Padres came in, maybe he would come in at that point, or one of the other starters. Later came back in the late 70s as one of Tommy Lasorda's coaches. He was the pitching coach for the Dodgers. Let's see. John Roseboro. John Roseboro. This guy had a solid career. He took over once Roy Campanella had to retire because of his accident. And he played a good 9-10 solid years with the Dodgers, had some all-star seasons in the early 60s. Unfortunately, the only time you really ever hear his name is if you hear the name of Juan Marichal next to him. But this guy was a solid defensive catcher in his day. And my last player card is the best offensive player the Dodgers had, Maury Wills. Stolen base king, basically, at that point. This guy was the generator of the Dodger offense. Dodgers won a lot of 1-0, 2-1 games. And it was because of Maury Wills getting on base and stealing bases. And the Dodgers were the kings of small ball in the 60s. So that's a great Maury Wills card. And this technically isn't a card, but I thought I would keep it. This is the envelope these cards have been in for 60 years. And it was sealed. And you notice I have these edges here where I got a letter opener to open these things up. This was a thick envelope, so it wasn't as easy to open the envelope, and I was terrified I was damaging cards, and luckily none of that happened. At the end of the day, I didn't have the heart to throw away the envelope just because it's been with the cards all these years, and I like these whole the way they labeled it and all that. So I thought, let's get it a top loader of its own. That way it can stay together with all the other cards. But that is my 1963 Dodger pinups set. It's a set that I've wanted just because I'm a Dodger team collector, and I think it looks nice with my collection from the 60s. So I do try to buy cards sometimes, not all the time, but I'll do try to buy cards that are outside of the Topps Bowman world. All right, you guys, if you stuck around this long, thanks so much. We'll talk to you next time. Take care.
It's a beautiful day for a ball game.